So just to be clear, that's the entire Eurovision stage. And that's your prop. That is enormous.
When the secret's around, it's going to be a real shock for everyone.
The video you're about to see, and I don't say this often, is pretty much unprecedented in Eurovision fan media. Because this weekend, one of the participating artists this year gave us a level of insight into what we're going to see on stage in Vienna and into the process that got him to this point, which is beyond anything that has been done before. I mean it when I say nothing is off limits. Thanks to London Eurovision Party, last weekend, a lot of the artists were in town. And you'll soon see my interviews from that show as well. But that day, I spent a couple of hours with Aidan from Malta and his entire creative team, who have essentially borne everything about every stage of this process. That goes right through from the way he chose this song at the start, from an original pool of 35 possibilities through to the national final and then onto Vienna, and exclusive details on what the staging is going to be like. This year, one thing I've really enjoyed being able to do is to dig a bit deeper with artists, like we did with Look Mum No Computer a few weeks ago, and really show something different and new that you haven't seen before. I am so excited that once again we're able to do that here. Here's how it's going to work. In a minute, we're going to teleport back a couple of days to meet with Aidan and his team. I did, of course, speak with him directly, and you'll be seeing plenty of him in this video. We also spoke to his creative director, Dan Shipton, and his team from Black Skull to really try and dig into what the direction of the staging is, a lot of exclusive and as of yet unrevealed details about it, and my reaction to seeing a rough cut that they've sent over to the contest team. We're also going to get a glimpse into the selection process and see the almost scientific method by which they went through and worked out what was the song they wanted to take forward to the Maltese selection and ultimately to Eurovision. This will also give us an insight into what Bulgaria's hot streak was motivated by between 2016 and 2021, because Vasil Ivanov, who ran the selection in that time period, is also the one who ran this process for Aidan. First though, just briefly, for those of you who aren't familiar with Aidan, it's worth taking a look at just how much he loves this contest and understand how much it means to him. He's participated in the Maltese Eurovision selection a few times before, but his relationship with the contest has gone back further. He's openly spoken in interviews about following national selections every year, and he travelled to Melodifestivalen in Sweden as a fan. I also happen to know that his mum is subscribed to this channel, so if you're watching this, hello. A lot has changed since he first tried to represent his country in the contest. Every single that he's released since 2021 has been very high in the Maltese charts. In fact, looking at the list on Wikipedia, every single one appears to have been at either number 1 or number 2. But Eurovision was always the one thing he really wanted that as of yet had eluded him until now. This is a big part of why I wanted to speak to Aidan and his team about this, because we have an actual genuine diehard Eurofan participating in the show here. The other part is that I think this is an entry with a really high ceiling, and I'd like to see how close to that ceiling we can get. Based on what I've heard and seen and what you're about to see, I genuinely think Malta could have a really high upside and be a potential dark horse in the contest this year. We've got a lot to talk about though, so without further ado, it's time to make our way to an undisclosed London location. You're not going to want to miss any of what's coming. For now though, to get there, time to resort to an old trick. We are now in an undisclosed location in central London. And like I said, this isn't just any normal video because we're about to join Aidan here in the final creative meeting before we stand in rehearsals.
And before we head to Vienna as well.
And before you head to Vienna. Firstly, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. A little bit tired, but I'm so excited about this, and I'm so happy to have you here as well.
No, it's fantastic to be here. And for those of you who don't know, we actually met in Sweden, and Aidan Sabine is like, my mum watches your video.
Yeah, she actually did. She saw your ranking yesterday.
Oh yeah?
She messaged me. She said you're in the A tier.
And I said as well, I was like, this could, you know, we haven't seen all of this yet. There's more to come. And that's obviously why we're here. So we've got your creative team waiting. We've got another hour or so of the creative meeting left. Shall we get in and meet everyone that's behind this entry?
Let's go ahead.
All right.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
So
lovely to meet you all. I'm Gabe. I make YouTube videos. You already know who this is.
My mom is a big fan of his. So.
Who's doing what here? I mean, I see former like Eurovision like directors in this room for previous contests.
So let me take you through. We have Dan, creative director of Bella's performance at Vienna. We have Lee, also from Black Skull, creative associate. Joe, who who is our assistant head of delegation and also liaison for myself as an artist, and Vasil from Bulgaria, the golden years of Bulgaria, actually, head of media for Malta 2026.
So the staging's all ready now. Everything's basically as set as it can be.
Yeah.
And so what would be fantastic if we could sit down and maybe have a little look about what we can expect in a few weeks' time.
Let's go.
All right, let's do it. Because I cannot remember any Eurovision media ever looking at an artist's creative deck at this point in the process. First, I feel like we just need to quickly understand the sort of it's almost, I kind of feel like I'm sat in a room with the sort of Eurovision Avengers a little bit.
We have assembled.
You, Dan, who has gone through many different Eurovision performances before. Any personal highlights, firstly?
Well, I mean, obviously Samurai Day is going to be a personal highlight. Just because coming second and then getting to host it in Liverpool was amazing. And obviously Lee was producer on that. But it's also great to be back doing some new countries this year that we haven't worked with before. And Lee and I were going to be doing the tour that obviously hasn't happened. So being able to kind of throw our hats back in the ring and kind of get in with some countries that we've been wanting to work with for a while. I think the thing about Malta is I feel like they've been, from watching from afar, I don't know about you, Lee, but I feel like they've been knocking on the door, as we would say in the UK. And it's been like quite interesting watching that process. And some of it I've felt like it's really fallen short at the last hurdle, and some of it he's been riding high and then it's just never delivered. And so it's nice to take the reins and make sure that he does deliver this year.
Mm-hmm. The elephant in the room is the televote, right? Which is, with ballads in the televote, it can work. We've seen it work before, but obviously that is a creative challenge in and of itself.
When I heard the song, I thought it was a ballad, but actually when we get into the creative process, it's so not a ballad. And the way that we're staging it has so much energy that by the end, you arrive at the first notes and you think, okay, I know what we're going to get. And by the end, you're so like, fucking hell, I was not expecting that. Everyone has kind of slept on this a little bit because when you hear it as a record, it's like, yeah, nice. And I think those last 2 weeks when the secrets are out, it's going to be a real shock for everyone.
When you explained this to me just before, I was taken aback at just how long this has been in the works, just how extensive this jury process is. For you, Aidan, could you tell me, because I was shocked by this, how many songs did you write for this process?
It was 35. I mean, not all fully produced, of course, but it was definitely 35.
35
we have
different
gotten
demos.
to the 35th mark, and I think when we reached that number, we knew that was enough.
This is very different.
Yeah.
It's a very, very different kind of song.
I wanted a song that lives on stage, not just for TikTok, not just for Spotify, not just for streaming. I really wanted to tell a story. I really wanted the highs and the lows in the song, and I think Bella delivers that.
And I think there's actually an added level of interest for Eurovision fans here, because this was also the process that guided the sort of Bulgarian, what is typically considered the golden age, from like 2016 to 2021.
So I will show you the final results of each of the groups we had. But before I get through that, I just want to say that these results are very important how you read them. So having an artist like Aidan who has actually experience in staging is very useful for us to understand also how he thinks and what works for him. Because the most important thing is to have a song that works for the artist. Sometimes it's not the song that wins the focus group voting. We are doing a little bit of a smaller focus group for this because it's done before the national final. In this case, it was very important for us to see how the Eurovision fans and journalists will react to the song. It was very important for us to do a musicians type of jury simulation, which is Group B that you will see on the screen. We have casual viewers as well. Those are people who watch the contest with their friends, but they are not following all the news. And we have a Maltese group, which was very important for us because we wanted to see how people there will react to the song, because it was just before the national final. The most important group for us was the jury group, because I think you can, and going to this topic about televoting, you can work on the televoting through marketing, through a great staging performance. But with the juries, you have to know in advance if you can, if there is something that triggers them. I will give an example. There is one of those songs. Listen to the album and you will find out which got from British people. It got a feedback that it's too familiar to another song, in a sense of the style.
Right.
So something like that can affect the jury vote. So we had a strong intel on that this is a very strong jury song, and it's strong on the level of A Beautiful Mess from what we've seen with the Bulgarian focus groups.
Just quickly, Aidan, for you, when you went, because obviously you were living this process as well, did it make you write differently? Did you have to sort of consciously make an effort to not sort of change your process, or was it because you've done it a few times, has it become more natural?
We did a similar exercise in 2023 with picking Regina, but it was not to this extent, definitely. I did have my 3 favorite songs, as long as it's one of those 3.
And was it?
We're fine. It was, of course.
Okay.
I mean, I have to be honest about this. Bella was my favorite song. It was the very first song which made me cry as soon as I heard the first demo.
Why was that?
I mean, I guess it was the uniqueness of it. It was also a sunny day in Malta. I was on a rooftop in Valletta, and I was listening with my headphones on, and I was tearing up. I sent a photo to my mom. I said, I guess I have the song. She didn't know about this whole process.
We had to prove that it's the song. But it's not about our personal taste in this process. It's more about intel on what could happen. Obviously, we cannot know for sure. And we take the decision, most importantly, what the artists feel confident with, and the one that has the most potential to be great on the Eurovision stage.
Yes. And that is, of course, also where creative director, no big deal, only worked with, Dua Lipa and a whole laundry list of various Eurovision songs and countries. And I'm almost happy to just say, well, take it away. Let's see. I'd love to sort of find out more about what decisions have been made and also what's the motivating factors behind those decisions.
Of course.
I'm curious what's in your box of tricks.
Well, so where we're at kind of in the process is we're next week or the week after we should see the first stand-ins coming through. This year Marvin, who's head of contest, has done an amazing job, and he's got extra time, so they've got 50 minutes this year, which means I think normally they have 30, so there's extra time to like hopefully make it a little bit better, because it's usually so rushed. And having been on the other side of it, it is always so rushed, and it's just a bit of a panic for everyone. So and I don't think I've worked with an artist before that has understood every level, which has been amazing, but also I think it's meant that we're so secure in our ideas and where we've pushed them to. But when Vasil rang and I joined the first call and Aidan explained everything, my first question was, great glossy performance that you did for the your national final, but how did you do the roses? And the answer was CG. And I was like, oh fuck. Like, it's completely against the rules, we can't do it. And I think there's an authenticity in how Aidan delivers this performance, and actually I think a lot of this process has been stripping away the glossiness that he had in his national performance, because when I watched that I found an artist that was quite unapproachable. Like, it was so glossy that I couldn't really like tap into that authenticness of the way that song should sound. And actually there's a real emotional journey that we go on in that. So actually a lot of the process has been, particularly in your movement, has been about stripping away these kind of like big kind of glossy movements and actually finding some reality within this space. So let's start this deck. So this is our creative team. So I don't know if you want to introduce it, or if you want me to.
So we have Dan, of course, and Ross, as well as Lee from Black Skull, who's mostly taking care of the staging itself. We have Tom, who is the stylist for myself. He was the lead stylist for Lady Gaga.
Oh wow!
For quite a good number of years. Recently, Austin Butler.
Can we expect to see something quite different from the national final in terms?
Well,
do you know what it is yet, or are we...
I know what it is. I will be wearing custom archival Versace.
Oh, okay.
So it's close to what I wore in the national final, but very much elevated. I mean, Versace, so you expect that. And we also have Elle, who is our lighting designer. He actually was the lighting designer for Eurovision itself, 2014, 15, 16. Yeah, he's also worked on the Super Bowl show. His magical touch is there, and you'll see later on when we watch the lighting video.
Excellent.
Let me tell you a story. So we inherited a version of Bella. We knew that this kind of idea of memory was really important. The way I read the song was, it was this guy telling a story about a woman, a moment that they had together that can never leave him and actually almost drives him mad in the end. Plus also this journey in the song where it starts so intimate and slow, but then it goes so fast by the end, and how do we visually do that? Obviously we didn't want to get rid of the kind of like dancing silhouette. That's like something that I thought was a really nice motif, but I've seen it on the floor a million times. So I wanted to do away with that, but reimagine it in a new way. Plus also, how do you also do rose petals when you're not allowed confetti on stage at the Eurovision, and we're not allowed CG. So there was a lot of problems that we inherited, but the visual language of the song, with this kind of very monochrome, timeless thing, was there. Aidan has this kind of almost kind of vintage feel to him, but at the same time there's a modernity there. And what's amazing, I think, about Bella is it's bringing a song that feels like it's been a classic song, could have been written in the 50s maybe, but it still stands out today. These guys made a choice to put a song into the show that is so different to everything else, so we need to make sure that the staging was also felt very different to everything else. And obviously the way that you start by doing that, and we've talked about this a million times, is you turn everything else off and you make a decision to never use a screen in the venue, which is something that we chose to
So
do.
no screen at all?
No screen. We also decided that it's all about very specific lighting. So there's one end moment where there's a big lighting look, but other than that, absolutely none. We also decided that we're going to shoot it in a very intimate way, so there's very few wide shots. It will feel very, very different, but it will also stand out. So automatically we're kind of trying to make a performance that essentially feels eternal and will live on in Eurovision history. The opening shot is a top shot over Aidan, and we've got 8 beams of light around him that actually shine their lights in, and all being well will create the shape of the Maltese flag. Or Maltese cross, I should say. Maltese cross. So just again, it's like a minor detail, but for us, all of these details layer in. And why we're in the top shot is we're kind of showing that we're in this no man's land of Aidan's mind, and we don't know where we are. He stood on a glowing white platform, and we're kind of entering his mind in my head. Is how we've kind of sold that in the story. When we come to the first shot of him, he'll be lit in a single spotlight. He's on this glowing platform, and we won't really know where he is. These are all going to be shot from frontal cameras for this first section, and it should be quite clean, so he'll feel like he's floating in black. But some of this will have, you'll start to sense that there is an architecture around him, which is inspired by this kind of shape that you're seeing here. But we'll gradually reveal that as we kind of build through verse 1. When we get into the first chorus, this is where we really start to see this architecture. And there's the kind of Italian references, there's architectural references. There's, even in my head, it was a reference to The Sound of Music back in the day, where they're in this kind of, like they're falling in love in the outside space. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like this kind of feel. So again, you know exactly that it's a classical structure, but the way it's lit and the way it appears on camera feels very modern. So again, we're kind of really striking that balance between what feels like something heritage and vintage, and also this modernity and this kind of very modern way of approaching it. Mm-hmm. So he's within this structure, and as we start to introduce some of the tracking shots around him, we're doing a lot of work with the Steadicams and a lot of integrated and detailed camera work. We'll almost be shooting through a lot of this structure and seeing him inside it, so he's contained. And then we go into what Aidan calls the post-chorus. I call something different. But
now
this is...
it starts to get more exciting.
Yeah, this is where we start ramping up the idea, and this is where he starts singing...
Bella, 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 bella. Bella, 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 bella.
I guess I call it post. I'm sorry, I'm going to take his side. I think it's a post-chorus.
Okay, there you go.
I think it's a post-chorus.
Right, that's fine. You also know it's post-chorus. It's written there. It wasn't so obvious when I was listening to it the first time. Anyway, so when we get to that point, obviously this is the first problem we had to solve. How are we doing this image of Bella without it being on the floor? When Ross and I were talking about the idea, it was about this kind of Victorian zoetrope. So a zoetrope is like a memory device from back in the day in the Victorian times where you spin it and moving images come to life as it rotates, right? So we wanted to bring that to life. So actually, we're using a piece of technology that has it's never been used before in this way, and is so new that actually us commissioning it meant that they actually built the piece for the first time. So in each one of those arches is a new transparent LED product. And so when we say we're not using screen, we're using a new type of screen that no one else has on Eurovision. And it's like a gauze. When you project on gauze and light it in a certain way, you can see through it, but you can also see an image.
Oh, so when you're talking about the silhouette, this is how you're doing the silhouette. In
so in each one of those, exactly.
Right.
So in each one of those arches is a transparent video panel that you, as we've been shooting around, and like a magic trick, you show your hand. So everyone had been seeing through these arches and they wouldn't believe there was anything there. And all of a sudden, as he sings Bella, the images of her dancing around his mind starts appearing.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, this is where it starts getting different to the national final, because he actually moves and watches her and spins with her and has this kind of like real connection with this lady that's dancing around him, and it's all very much about this kind of romantic, dreamlike moment of everything that he's remembering. So from there, suddenly she disappears, and as she disappears, obviously Aidan wants to go in search of her. So he steps off the podium and actually steps out of the structure for the first time. And he starts walking around the side. And from this point onwards, he never leaves a Steadicam. So it's a one shot from this moment onwards.
So for the last minute and a half of the performance is one shot, okay.
Yeah, so he steps out like he's trying to find her, and he kind of chases around. And as he comes around, he comes back into the structure. And as he comes back into the structure, we go into our final moment where in the national final, the petals would start swirling around him and we get all this energy. But at that moment, we're going to do a bit of a trick. So as he comes back in, on camera, we're very much here. And as he goes into that kind of final build, suddenly him and the camera start spinning and spinning and spinning, rotating around like they're on some kind of merry-go-round. So instead of realizing the petals and the vortex as like a tornado that happens around him, suddenly he's caught up in this tornado, the tornado of his mind, the tornado of his memory. Him and the camera never leave their fixed position, and everything, they spin, everything else stays still, so you get this kind of madness happening. And then by the very end of that, we finish with the whole world stopping, the Steadicam pulling back, him standing back where he started, and we're out of the final shot, and then we get this kind of big ending lighting moment, and it's him starting back where he came from, but having been completely affected by this memory of this girl that's left him.
I'm curious about the prop now.
Let me tell you about it.
And you can show me, we can't show the camera.
So you can see from this top shot, that's the edge of the Eurovision stage. It literally is huge.
That is enormous.
Yeah.
How did you end up with something that big?
Because it completely fits within all the rules, and we just had an ingenious way of getting it on, and over the years kind of developed that. Hidden within this structure are these two rotating platforms, so like a merry-go-round essentially.
So this will turn
it will
at the end
completely spin, and there are two puppeteers, and then one puppeteer basically runs this around 3 rotations within that kind of like 20-second moment, so fast. And then the other puppeteer is also throwing rose petals. It's against the rules to have falling confetti.
So they have to be thrown out so they
So
can
we
be...
are able, and we have got, within all of this, there's a fabric floor so that it catches all of our petals, and it can be a bit like how France did the sand last year.
Yeah.
So all of that gets scooped up at the end.
I just want to quickly, to give a sort of visual representation of this, I'm just going to take these glasses. What we're explaining here is, if you imagine this is the platform that Aidan is on for most of the performance, at the end you've got the Steadicam here and Aidan on here, and essentially they're turning around. So on screen, the Steadicam is just going to be pointing towards Aidan. What we won't see is these platforms spinning around, and so then the prop is going to spin around behind it. Just thought the visual demonstration.
It's very handy.
Might be helpful.
Very handy.
I can't show you the sketches, but I can show you glasses of water.
But how that appears on camera is this amazing idea that there's him and the camera, the two fixed points in the world, and they're the only thing anchored within this tornado of his mind. And so you get this amazing, I'll show you the shot in a second, but when we did it on the prop rehearsal, when we'd just been to Vienna for, it was like amazing to see, because we've been doing it in the rehearsal room, and you think it's going to work, but when it actually works, we had a little cry. It's really, really good. And of course, at that point, all of the video panels can come back on, so they become falling rose petals, can become our tornado. So everything kind of plays into our hands. And the reason there's a top shot at the top is because we always want to show, as any magician does, you show your full hand to the audience, and you're basically showing them there's nothing there. And then when the trick happens, there obviously something is there, but that's part of it.
So we're now moving on to, is this from Vienna, or is it back in Malta?
It's actually in Malta, but you'll get to see the magic trick in Vienna with the actual prop. And on the left, you'll see the actual lighting that we'll have. So essentially, it's the stage and the prop itself.
Every country is different, but what level of detail they go to. Some people just put in a look and feel document that is a couple of pages of like reference images, like mood boards. Obviously, we go to every detail, and that also includes sending in a full lighting previs, so that we're very prescribed about what we want, but then we also send in a full live edit camera cut. So everything that Aidan has rehearsed is completely accurate to what we want to see visualized. And obviously Robin, camera director from Eurovision, who's obviously incredible, will take that and rehearse with that in the stand-ins. We'll take what he's learned, we'll give feedback on it, but then we'll go back into the rehearsal room with Aidan and adjust Aidan to match what we've learned from that, get us to the next rehearsal until we get it absolutely perfect.
If you leave things open to interpretation, what you'll find is you'll get there and figure out that actually you did have a way how it looked in your mind, and now it doesn't, and you can't change it because it's like the 5th of May and you're in rehearsal.
And that's what has been amazing, because to have an artist that actually wants to sit down and go on every lighting note and every camera cut and every bit of detail and do that as a team means that what's in my head is also what's in his head, and when he's translating that as his performance, he completely understands what I'm doing. We've got a safety net between us so that I can be making adjustments, he'll know exactly what I'm doing, and vice versa. And there's a dynamic there that I think has become very important to how we'll deliver this at speed when we're working on stage.
This is one of the most obscure parts of the Eurovision process, is the amount of different elements that have to be sort of lined up, right down to what you were saying about like the amount of time you have to make revisions when you're actually at the contest. I think a lot of people don't understand. After a stand-in rehearsal, you have this very limited period of time.
Yeah, you have 24 hours to give your notes.
Yeah, and those notes, they will then do as much of it in the limited amount of time the production team has. Because if you give, even if you spend 10 minutes working on each one, 6 hours, 7 hours.
Ultimately, Tim, who's lighting the show, Marvin, who's producing the contest, they're all such amazing artists themselves that they deserve to be given that recognition as well. And they're just our extended team, and without them, we can't do any of this. So all of that becomes really, really important. Do you want to watch it?
Yes, let's watch.
So have you ever seen live edit before?
No.
Okay, so we're only supposed to give one version of the rehearsal to the team, which is a wide shot. But for our own purposes, to give a sense of like how it might flow, we've cut together me with a very like shaky hand iPhone with all the cuts, so you get a sense of how it might start to appear. The top edge here is all of the cuts that every camera operator will have given to them with a description of what we're looking for and what we're trying to achieve. And obviously we can't achieve everything in this room because it's just me and like an iPhone, but you'll get a sense of the flow. So here we go.
Oh, wow.
I'll keep holding on to you after all of the stars.
I love the way it sparkles. It's almost like mystical, like the stars. So we're now seeing the rotation around the central platform.
I'll keep holding on to you.
Oh, it's fast. Oh, I love that shot. That's brilliant.
celos a ti você tinha por mim.
That spin is really something. Obviously the people watching this video won't see it yet, but I cannot understate just how fast it's going. When you've got these, there'll be these petals and projections in the background and so on. It'll build and build the intensity. Even just watching that, where it was a prop in a warehouse, I felt a little bit like, wow, like that's going to be a moment. I'm getting a little bit of the kind of, you'll be familiar with this feeling, when you see something that you get the slight like schoolboy excitement.
Yeah.
I imagine you got that when you first watched it back too.
Honestly, I got that as soon as I heard the first demo of Bella. It's so cool to be able to do this. And I get that most of the artists say that, it's my dream, I've been wanting to do this, I want to do Eurovision.
Most artists haven't been to Melfest just to watch it, and don't follow all the national finals every year.
Almost all the national finals. I actually followed Dan's work for like 5-6 years. A few weeks ago he was like, you sent me congratulations when he did the Eurovision show in 2023. So yeah, I did. So now being able to do this and hopefully delivering this performance, I feel like I'm giving something to the Eurovision, not just being there, not just performing there, but I feel like this performance, if it happens as it should, and I have faith in that, I think we are going to leave a mark.
Obviously, with what happened last time with disqualification, and then previously before that with Ritmu, where you came second, I guess, is it easier now to look back on that stuff now you've gotten to this point? Because I sort of feel like at the time, those are things that would be, missing out by a little bit is difficult to swallow.
I have the memory of standing on stage 4 years ago with Ritmu. Every jury member placed me second. And that's kind of imprinted in me. I was still very happy with the performance, with the song, and with all the campaign that we had with Ritmu. I'm still going to do this one day, but maybe not with this song. And then Regina happened.
Yeah, it seemed for all the world like it. Obviously, we'll never know what would have happened.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's not a particularly controversial opinion to say you would have won that year in Malta. And so it looked for all the world like it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then
I received this email because I got notified by an email, and in 5-10 minutes it was all over the news. I couldn't do anything about it. I cried a lot, and then of course my love for Eurovision never went away, obviously, and I was still gearing up for when the time comes, and I was so sure of myself that one day I'll make it, one day I'll be here, one day I'll do this and present this to the world. Yeah, in 2024 I had my first big concert in Malta, and I had this little moment where I got this, someone from the audience gave me a huge Maltese flag, and the first word that came in my mind was that one day I'll represent my country, and I made that promise to the Maltese public. So I started writing songs, those 35 songs, and it is quite emotional for me.
I think that's the beauty of the relationship, because it is that the meetings of the minds that make something magic, and hopefully we'll be behind the camera making sure it looks amazing, and he'll be on camera making sure it looks amazing, and that's a partnership that should create something very special.
I couldn't be happier. They have such a great team here on this table, and also those who are not here today. But in 5-10 years' time, we're all going to look back and say we presented a timeless song, a classic timeless song, with a very modern staging for that time, high-tech staging, and yeah.
as you can see, that lived up to the billing in terms of the amount that their team was willing to share with us today. To be honest, as someone who was going in blind, who didn't know what to expect, who knew that the staging was going to be different, but how different was a question, I have to say, as you could see from my reaction during that demonstration, I was blown away. I was pretty confident and bullish on Bella before. I think it's a great song. I think it's well performed. Aidan can clearly deliver it. But this staging is something really, really special. And God knows just how good it could be when we see it live in Vienna in just a couple of weeks. This kind of brings a close to the sort of series of videos that I've wanted to do this season, where we've really dug in and tried to look behind lots of the different stories behind the entries this year. You know, Aidan, he's a huge fan. He's dreamed of it all his life, and now he's trying to grasp this opportunity with both hands. You've got the stories that we had in Sweden with Felicia, in Moldova with Satoshi, and in Finland and Estonia as well. I really hope you've enjoyed all of these videos, because it has been such a joy to make, and it's been such an incredible pre-party and national final season, despite everything else that's been going on. Now we are moving on to Vienna, and there's just one more video coming after this that you will see from me in my house before we go there. There are going to be streams every day, just like last year. We've got loads planned, and we are so excited to share it with you. For now though, I really hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as we enjoyed filming it.
Che bella.